Oh wait, are you in Congo, DR Congo now, or where are you? I know
No,
you about switching
yeah, I'm in South Africa,
South Africa.
but I can switch it up in a couple of days. So I'm in
That's
and
it.
out real quick.
That's how you always been, brother. That's how you always been.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good to hear. Now I'm still in Salt Lake. I'm still in Salt Lake with GS. I think last year we obviously
Goldman Sachs.
had yeah. Last year we had like a first one. When I started DD analysis initially, I was testing out a few things. We had a little Instagram live, which actually did well. We had a lot of
Yeah,
people
I
from
remember. I was in Uganda at the time. It
yeah.
was Brooklyn against Celtics, first game. It
Yep,
was on
yep.
a Sunday. Yeah.
Yes, yes, sir. And what's funny is you've actually switched teams again, right?
I didn't quite switch teams. I just had to follow where my boy is going, KD, man. I'm one of the biggest Kevin Durant supporters in Central Africa or in Africa, I would say.
Why are you a KD supporter? What's your one reason?
Kevin Durant is one type of a player. If you put what he's doing, his skills on the courts and so on, he's a magnificent
Mm,
talent.
mm,
So obviously, during his OKC days, actually, when the Sonics shut down and then when they relocated to OKC and then yeah, him, Harden, Westbrook, man, with one of the best teams in the West, young teams in the West.
mm.
And obviously Kevin Durant doing what he was doing then and still doing what he was doing then, bro.
Yeah.
He was one type of a player. One
Mm.
type of player, I would say, the most unguardable player in NBA history. We can argue that.
No, I think yeah, he's obviously a freak of nature, right? Like 7 feet tall, ball handling like a guard. You know, and I think it's for me it's always like how efficient he is most of the time, right?
Right.
Most of the time he starts games 5 of 6, 5 of 7. Like he
Like
plays.
last night.
Yep, exactly. So it's like it's such a good thing, but I think the only downside, which everybody has said and people continue to criticize, is he's been deemed as a super team chaser, as you would know and should agree. Um, I mean, again, it's a team sport, so his individual ability has never been questioned. But obviously, sometimes you make decisions like going to Brooklyn, and it doesn't work out. So I don't necessarily blame him completely, but I
You
definitely would.
can blame him for the Brooklyn scenario.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Kyrie had his toe to play, obviously. But then it was still his call to leave the Warriors, right? It was still his call to bring up Kyrie, bring up Harden, do all those little things. But it whether it worked out or not, because of Kyrie's messes or the team chemistry was just not there, we'll never know. But I genuinely think that's probably one of the biggest super team failures since the Nets did it in the past when they had Garnett and Pierce. They made that big trade to get those guys. I think it's pretty similar. But anyway, that's fine. That's fine. Cool.
If
All
I
right.
can add one more thing before closing it, one
Yep.
of the reasons why they failed in Brooklyn is because the team was not healthy. Apart from not being healthy, there was also the media side of it. New York has the most toxic press and media in the whole world, man.
Mm.
So apart from Paris or France, obviously, it's New
Yeah.
York. So obviously, with everything that was happening, the team, when they played 13 games together, Harden, KD, Kyrie, they played 13 games together, and they won 80% of the games when they were healthy together. So obviously, Harden going down in the playoff against the Bucks, and then Kyrie being hurt, spraining his ankle and so on. I don't blame KD for the result that he had there, and I wouldn't call it a failure.
Mm.
I wouldn't call it a failure. It's steps to success.
No,
Yeah.
that's a book straight out of Giannis. That's fair.
It's not a failure, it's steps to success. you know. And if you've never, I don't want to make it personal. So there's always steps to it, you know. Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championships. The other 9 years was a failure. That's what you're telling me. No, I'm answering your question.
All right. One thing I wanted to talk about, like obviously that you've been heavily involved in this, obviously show sports, right? Show
Right.
sports basketball. Just tell us what is that? What is that about? Where is the name from? What's going on there?
December 2020, I decided to start off my own basketball team. Obviously, I was still in college by then. I was a junior in college. And obviously at Holt, which is the college that I went to, I kind of organized a couple of basketball tournaments. And obviously being a basketball fan, it inspired me to start my own basketball team. And which is what I did. I went back home, called a couple of guys, wanted to start up the team, recruiting now and then. And then, so the name is Chauxsportsbasketball. We started off with a men's team. This season, we have a women's team. And our first year in the league, in the regional league, which is in Bukavu, South Kivu, Eastern Congo, we won our first title. First title against a big rival team. And then we were able to come third at the Congolese Cup. If we would have won the Congolese Cup, then we would qualify to go to the BAL, which is ongoing right now in the Basketball African League. But it's one of our aspirations for this season. And for the women's side, they're doing extremely well. They are 11-0, haven't lost a game. Comparing to the men's team, have lost 3 games this far. But so far, so good. We're in a good shape. We're wrapping up a couple of games before heading down to the playoff in the next month or 2.
Oh, sure. No. Like, especially to obviously those records you mentioned, right? Starting off back in college. I actually remember when you first talked about it with me, just, that's something you wanted to do, and to see it come through in like, 2-3 years, as you said, when you already have a trophy in your book, starting both genders, it's definitely a big deal. And I think it's something you should not take lightly for sure, which I don't think you are. One thing I wanted to quickly follow up on with that is that in terms of where you see this going, right? I know you spoke about separately, talking about, the Basketball African League. I know you actually even, met up with, or actually bumped into South Kivu, in South Kivu, the president of BAL, right? This was like last year or something.
Where what?
When you bumped into the president of the African League.
Yeah, it was Mr. Gallo 4. So I was having dinner in Johannesburg with some family members and some friend, and then he was also over there. And then I kind of went down, introduced myself, telling him what I was doing and so on, and telling about my contribution in the development of basketball in my own community, in my own village, in my own province. And obviously he was very, amazed of what we were doing and on. And, he told me to kind of send out an email to him. So I've sent an email to him. So we're looking, hopefully in the near future, for various ways and how we can improve basketball within the Eastern Congolese region. And something that I personally am working toward too. Because, in Congo, there's a lot of talent and so on. But what's mostly lacking, apart from infrastructure, is, kind of showing the life skills to these basketball people. Apart from basketball, this society that you deal with, the different type of things that you deal with, that is bigger than basketball, obviously. And one aspect of it is teaching them through sports. So that's what we're mainly focusing on. It's not easy, but it's not impossible.
No, I think I said that last line is actually pretty important. Like, I think both as relatively tall basketball, like standard average man, right? We
Correct.
both played basketball in some ways back home. I played back in high school. I was actually one of the tallest in my team, so I had to play center.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say my handling skills have always been the greatest, but I think for me, no matter how much slack he gets, I actually see myself a lot like him, which when I say I'm referring to Draymond Green, in terms of being able to look at the game from a bigger standpoint, right? Make defensive plays when needed and just make sure the teams, because I don't think the Warriors get to where they get to without Green. I'm not saying he's pivotal to it, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but I genuinely think he's part of their chemistry that obviously has built this dynasty we're seeing these days. So just wanted to touch base on that and just say that we coming from that background, we kind of not saw a pathway for our success back home. We both obviously found ourselves here in the United States college, and our college was not primarily like a primary college for basketball, but we did, as you said, try to do a few events here and there. But I think the point is we want to see Africa as a whole solely come closer to allowing ourselves and allowing the talents we have become a bigger thing. I know the Basketball Africa League is something that has been going on for a bit, but how marketable is that? How many people actually know about this? How many teams, how many countries, put in the time to get invest in these things? So I just think it's something that has a lot of promise, a lot of future, but that's something as a whole Africa has. But I just think we need to really allow ourselves to grow it. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised in a few years' time if Show Sports is, one of the
Correct.
first to break out through that.
Yeah, God willing. For sure. I mean, what you said is very, very important, especially in terms of the BAL being marketable, profitable, and so on. Because, as a team owner, as an African basketball team owner, to one of the countries in Central Africa and Eastern Africa as a whole, it's quite tough, to be honest, because there's a bunch of stuff that comes into it. You got to invest your money into your players, infrastructure, buying kits, and so on. They got to, have some sort of salary at the end of the month. Obviously, that's been given to them. Healthcare, it's been covered. Also, they have to eat, transports, logistics, and all of that. So it plays into it. And then at the end of the day, you can win the regional league, but what are you getting? You're not getting anything in return as an owner. You're not getting any return as an owner, probably, I don't know, $50 to $200, which is nothing. And then the BAL is kind of opening up a new horizon for a lot of teams, because obviously there's big time people who are backing up the project. They want to grow the basketball sports throughout the continent and so on, and with viewership, with a lot of sponsors and so on. And once the teams comes in between, they can kind of get something out of it in return. It's not just saying that, okay, I'm waiting for the BL to come so I can just snatch this money and then keep it in my pockets. Now you reinvest it to your team, you reinvest it to your basketball program, you reinvest into, I don't know if you have an academy, the youth, and so on, something that's going to be beneficial for basketball development and bringing the basketball development into the next step, which is very, very pivotal. We've seen a lot of African native making it to the NBA and so on. We're signing $1 million contracts. It's not impossible for those who are dreaming about it too. So, but it starts with seriousness. It starts with caring, with respecting, and putting hard work and a lot of commitment.
Yeah. I think we'll get there. Again, it starts with us, right? It starts with us, and as you said, some of the NBA players have made it to the league, making all these crazy dollars. It's interesting because I saw recently what Embiid had to not that he had to, but he still considers himself from Cameroon, but he doesn't have an American identity as well, which is something that makes sense to have because it's what the world is currently. But at the same time, I would say it's because of the lack of what is back home,
Exactly.
and it's something that we've seen. Siakam, you have a few star players. Giannis is Nigerian, right? He's going to Greek, but he's Nigerian, and it's only because he had to leave, his home, go get migrated to Greece, and eventually come to the US. So we'll see. We'll definitely have some future coming through for sure. All right. Let's touch on one more thing. I'll start off with this year's playoffs as a whole. I think last year's playoffs was interesting because
Very.
I'm a Boston Celtics fan, right? So I was like, I have a tweet. It's out there, and I'm not saying this. I have a tweet. I tweeted in, I think it was January or February of that season. I was like, Boston Celtics is winning the NBA championship, and we are facing the Golden State Warriors in that final. I put it out there. This was before the playoffs even started because I just saw something click with that team. Obviously, the Celtics got to the finals, faced the Warriors, but we fell short. I think there's so many reasons why that happened. I feel like we had probably one of the toughest runs to the NBA finals we've seen in a while. Obviously, we swept Kevin Durant's Brooklyn net. Let's just put it out there. I think we faced the Bucks in the next round, faced the Heat, which are looking very strong again this year, and obviously faced Warriors. Anyway, so now coming to this year's playoffs, we've already seen a shock, bro. I mean, in my opinion, it's a big shock. Like, no disrespect to the Miami Heat. As I said, last year they were in the Eastern Conference Finals, but this year they couldn't beat the Hawks in the first playing game. They had to need the second game to actually get into the playoffs. And to get into the playoffs as the 8th seed versus the Milwaukee Bucks, who were heavy favorites actually for this year, and to give them the gentleman's sweep, that's crazy. But what's your take on this year's playoffs, that series, and what you see happening?
I see a lot happening. Obviously, this year playoff, there's different players who have joined different conferences and so on. A lot of teams got stronger, and on the East side, obviously, you have the Miami Heat that made a good run during the play-in. Not so really because they lost against the Hawks, but I think it was a learning moment for them because they ended up bouncing back against Chicago and DeRozan and Levine, and they ended up beating obviously the number 1 seed. That's probably one of the biggest upsets in NBA history. And then now they're going to face the Knicks. On the other hand, you have the Celtics, which are just tough to beat. They've been tough to beat for the last 2 years. Prior to the start of training camp last year, there have been a lot of talks with the Celtics saying that Jalen and Tatum can work out together and so on. And then they made it to the NBA Finals. And that obviously Curry had an incredible game. And the Warriors won the championship. But this year, it's like they didn't slow down. Even when the coach Mudogo got fired, and there's a new head coach who came in, tough guy from Rhode Island. They haven't slowed down a bit. Yeah. And you can see they've been on 15 games winning streak, 8 games winning streak. And at some point, they were the number 1 seed in the East.
Yep.
So it's going to be very interesting. The Philadelphia and obviously the Celtics matching up in the semis of the Eastern Conference. Hopefully Embiid's injury is not that serious, and he'll be able to play some games because it's going to be a fun series to watch. But I got the Celtics going back to the finals this year. And obviously on the East side, I have the Celtics going back to the final because of the chemistry they have. That group, Horford, Smart, Brown, Tatum, they've been around together. They've been together since LeBron in 2017, 2018.
Yes,
So
sir.
they know, they understand each other and so on. And the chemistry is up the roof, man. So I have them going back to the finals.
Yeah.
But on the west side, the Grizzlies, there was a lot of talking.
Fine in the West.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of talking. There was a lot of talking, I would say, towards the end of the season. And obviously, one of the pivotal moments of the season, downfall was the incident that happened with Ja Morant. Obviously, if he was still there, they'll still win games. They would have avoided a couple of other teams and so on. Obviously, they probably would be second seeds, or there was a point where there was even number one seed. So even he admitted himself that it was a distraction for the team, and he contributed to what's happening, what happened on the exit of the first round. And I think the Lakers are having a good second start of the season. So after the All-Star break, obviously, they picked it up. They picked it up. They made some moves, deadlines, trades, and so on. So Palenka did his thing. I don't know how they traded what's that point guard, the lefty.
Oh, the
No,
left.
no. They traded him for Rui.
Oh,
Kevin Nunn.
yeah.
Kendrick Nunn. I don't know how they gave the Wizard Kendrick Nunn and they got Achimura back. Like, that's one of the biggest steal in NBA history. I still don't understand how that was possible. And I think the Lakers would the Lakers might be the Lakers are going to be the Warriors, and it's going to be Kevin Durant and LeBron James Western Conference final. They haven't played against each other since 2019 or 2018.
Yeah.
So they owe us that. KD owe us that matchup. Final, face LeBron, beat LeBron and AD, and go to the finals against the Celtics and seal it against them boys, man. So that's my prediction for this year's playoffs. I'm very. I think it's going to be a Celtics and Suns for NBA Finals, and hopefully I'll have to catch a game at least, because I haven't watched. I only watched one playoff game, and it was in Brooklyn. But I need that playoff atmosphere once again. So we'll see how he plays out.
No, for sure. Like,
I don't know what your prediction is.
First time in a long time, I would say. I actually don't disagree with you. In a sense, because so there was this bracket we had to make. I actually made a bracket. So far, it's been good. Obviously, the Heat destroyed that by beating the Bucks. I did not have them beating the Bucks. I also didn't have the Knicks beating Cavs. But besides that, it's actually panning out as I expected. I think LeBron has something on his mind this year. What he recently posted about Dylan Brooks and talking about, if you see him fighting the grizzly bear, save the bear.
Yeah.
That's when he's in game 6 mode. Oh no, not game 6 mode, LeBron, but like he's locked in basically. So Lakers, when whoever comes out of that Warriors Kings series, I got Lakers. I do have the Suns beating the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets is a great team. Jokic, potentially 3-time MVP, might go to Embiid. We'll see. But I just think their setup has been very good, but I've not seen them pull out and be efficient in the playoffs. And I think maybe their run-ins have also been tough in the past. 2 years ago, they had to face the Lakers, who eventually won it. So I just think the Nuggets are a great team, but right now don't have that piece to like take them to a title. Even though Jokic, again, 2-time MVP back-to-back is crazy. So I do have Suns coming out the series. I wouldn't say 5 or 6 games, potentially 6, but it could go 7, to be honest. I think Lakers wins their series. Come to the Eastern Conference, we got Heat, Knicks. it's hard to bet against Butler right now, right? He literally just proved himself to the world that he's that guy. It's interesting because Butler shoots like 30% from three during the regular season, and then in this series he shot 44%. Like that is someone who knows how to turn up when he needs to. So I think Butler is going to come through against the Knicks, even though Stephen A. Smith obviously has his own sales on that.
Yeah.
And then for the Phillies Celtics series, I think it's gonna go faster than most people envision. And what I mean by that is, I remember going to last year's Celtics in Brooklyn series, and obviously you were a Brooklyn fan at the time, but it was like everybody thought that series was going 7 games. That people like, I didn't say okay, I didn't anticipate a sweep, but I was like, weak Celtics, as you said, is this team from the last 2 years is a very deep team. They literally have guards, big, tall bigs, and mobile bigs, and obviously Tatum and Brown, who complement each other, which not many teams can relate to. Like Brown, Tatum, two big guard, for long bigs, right? Shooting bigs. You got your guards, Smart, Derek White, Brogdon, who was a Sixth Man of the Year, right?
Yeah.
Then we go to the bigs. We got Horford. You got Williams, like very great defenders. Horford shooting, he brings space into the floor, able to shoot from three. It's such a deep team, and for me, it's like, especially with what happened last year for the run-in they had by going through all those tough teams and facing the Warriors and losing. They have something on the back. They have something to prove. So I think, yes, and I thought the Hawks series should have been in 4 or 5 games. It happens. It went 6 games instead. But I do see them beating the 76ers in maybe 5 games, if
I'll
not.
put 5. It's only going to depend on Joel Embiid's availability.
Yeah. I think Embiid will come back at some point, but I don't, regardless of his status, I think Celtics are out winning that series. I'm gonna say win that series easily, right?
Yeah, if Embiid doesn't play, then obviously you have they'll obviously run up them brotherly love guys, man.
Yeah. So now Eastern Conference Final, but repeat of last year. You got Heat Celtics. Again, now the Heat have something to prove, right? Because if you recall last year, it went to Game 7. It was Celtics were up 2 with about, I think, 30 or 40 seconds to play. Butler gets the ball and he pulls up for
3.
Pulls up for 3, misses it, breaks it actually. Celtics get rebound, Heat fouled, and series is done. Heat are out. That shot is interesting because I think it's a good shot for Stephen Curry. It's a good shot for Klay Thompson. It's not a good shot for Jimmy Butler. When I say that, and I mean that because statistically, he's not the greatest three-point shooter, period. He shoots low volumes and has a low percentage, about 30%, as I said. So going for that shot was terrible. Maybe they win the series if he does a smarter play. Who knows? Anyway, so coming to this year, they obviously have a chip on the back. They have something to prove. But as we communicated, the Celtics are too strong. I think that it will probably go 7 games again. Could go either way, but this time Celtics have home court, so that could play a very pivotal role. And I do see that series going 6 or 7 games and Celtics being victorious. So now in the NBA Finals, we got Suns and Celtics, which is interesting because I actually asked Grant Williams this question during All-Star Weekend in Utah.
Really? I seen the pictures and the videos.
Yeah.
I think it was
So
part of the NBPA.
Yes, sir. He's the president. He's this year's president, actually.
Wow.
So Mr. Grant Williams actually came to Goldman Sachs to have a quick conversation with, the fans and obviously people who know his work. Obviously, being a Celtics fan, I was excited to see there and be there. And I had a chance to put in 2 questions. My first question was like how the team was going to respond to the failure, which is a term we're not going to be using these days, but
Right.
going
Shout out
down.
to Giannis.
Yeah, going down against the Warriors, right? How they're going to respond and how, because at the time they're actually first in the East. And then my second question was literally, and my second question is Game 7 versus the Suns, NBA Finals. You're losing by 3. Who takes the shot? Jason Tatum or Grant Williams?
I'll start with the second question. Let's just say JT will have the ball in his hands. If I get it, I'm going to be like Ron Artest. That's the case for the second question.
I asked him. He said he's gonna do a run-out test if the ball gets to him. So he's gonna shoot it, but the ball will probably go to Tatum. So let's look out. If it goes to 7 games, it goes and the Celtics is down 3, and Grant Williams does the ball because he's a great shooter from 3. Don't get me wrong. I think
corner tree. He's efficient from the corner tree, which the corner tree is a little bit shorter than actually tree right from the middle.
Yeah.
So you gotta mention that the corner tree.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I think his first 50 shots from 3 when he started in the league, he missed them, and then they used to call him Ben Simmons in the Celtics team until he actually made a few, and then they improved pretty good. But anyway, so that's a series I've seen coming since the KD trade. I envisioned this happening, which I think it will this year until injuries play a part or some other factors come into play, and it's gonna be a fun series, for sure. Tatum versus KD round whatever. I just think what will not allow the Suns to be victorious here is not enough playing together time with the 3 of them, right?
Yeah.
Before the playoffs started, they played 8 games together, won all, right? But the first game in the playoffs, they lost it, right? And everybody was like kind of shocked, surprised. And it's happened, right? It's basketball, this happens, but I think chemistry, compatibility, being able to understand each other's plays as you're communicating, Booker knowing when KD's hot, give him the ball, KD knowing when Booker's hot, give him the ball, Chris Paul being a point guard, fascinating to play. Like these are they have individual talents that have never been doubted and will never be doubted, but the other day, it's being able to play as a team, and it's a team sport for a reason. So I think that Celtics would have their number there, like matchup wise. If I put Smart on, I could put Smart either way, but I'll probably put Smart on CP. I'll probably put Derek White on Booker, obviously, or you could put Brown on Booker. Actually,
who is KCP? KCP plays for the Nugget.
CP3, my bad.
Oh, CP3, yeah.
Yeah. So CP3 versus Smart, Brown versus Booker, KD versus Tatum, 8, and I'll probably have Williams against him. Like this, the Celtics have the matchup, in my personal opinion.
They do have the matchup.
So I'm just like, this could potentially just like allow them to be victorious and make up for what they couldn't get last year. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously, again, injuries happen, changes happen in the league, shocks, surprise happens. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see that we both have Suns, Celtics in the finals. Obviously, you're gonna root for the Suns, and I'll root for the Celtics. Cool. I think the last thing I was just gonna touch on before we can wrap up here is just obviously DD analysis, right? Something I've started. I think it's important for me to like communicate what I want with this this project, I'll call it. For myself, I've always found myself interested in not just basketball, but it cuts across football or soccer,
F1.
Formula 1, it cuts across even UFC recently, right? So I started DD analysis, obviously DD referencing my name. But yeah. The point of it is to be able to provide predictive sports analysis. I would say my record so far with NBA playoff predictions have not been the greatest, but the point is to be able to not just make predictions based on the statistics, which is something we see in our day-to-day a lot, where you have algorithms, we have ChatGPTs coming out trying to predict or make basketball so automated. I think if I could have a balance of that side of things, which I do have the background in, and also look at the play from the eyesight view, right? I feel like it will allow me to make certain decisions that some people might not. Obviously, having post-game breakdowns, right? Like I recently posted something on, the Heat's Bucks series, the last 4 minutes, how the Bucks basically choked and allowed Butler to have his him moment.
Yeah.
Podcast like what we're having right now, and then just try to provide the news and some news and updates to the fans of DD analysis, like yesterday's news with LeBron, Manchester United potentially being bought out, XYZ. So DD analysis is a simple project which I probably would do for a very long time, to be very honest. I had back in college, I remember going for a couple of the MIT sports analytics conferences, seeing some data there,
Yeah.
and putting it out there, and that allowed me to like put myself into this. So it's something that I'll invest my time and, as much time I have outside of my day job to this. But it's gonna be interesting to see. And at the end of the day, I appreciate the people who are supporting it, like yourself, obviously, taking your time to have a conversation with me about Chauxsports, about your anticipation for the Basketball Africa League, your playoff predictions, and how things can vision. And it's great to have conversations like this. Just to wrap it up, and I don't know if is there anything last thoughts you had before we wrap this up?
Like that, but overall, it's very good. It's very good, especially having this podcast. I think it's going to help sharing different type of perspective, talking to different people if they can hop on it, and maybe once when time will allow us all together sitting down, we have the podcast like those like the Tate's brothers, man. But in a most sporty way, and with a respectful manner, obviously. I'm pretty good in analyzing basketball game, not in stats like you are, but just giving a general analysis of the game and so on, not statistically. But also with the Premier League football, I'm very involved, man. I watch football myself. My dad owns a football team in Congo. So, yes, so we're quite involved also in football and so on.
We're gonna have him jump on at some point. We're gonna have him jump on at some point.
Yeah, no worries. So I'm here in weekends, can kind of sit down, analyze what's happening, what's going to happen, and so on. And probably someone out there is going to be inspired by watching this. And, it's a start of something good, man. Plus, you're also good at graphic design. I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. I'm many trades, bro. You make it work, bro. That's what
exactly. So that's good. We're always going to be involved in the page, criticizing, constructive criticism, obviously, when it's needed and when it needs to be said, and obviously give the flowers where it's supposed to, where it's due, man. So it's amazing work here, DD analysis, man.
Appreciate it, man. Well, thank you for the time, brother. Know you're a big man these days. Hard to catch. Again, I don't take it for granted. No.
We're doing our best, and please say hi to my fellow friends and colleagues at Goldman Sachs.
For sure. We're gonna put a branch out there in Congo sometime.
No worries, man.
All right, brother. Stay safe, man.
Take care and have a good Sunday.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
go, Suns.